everybody. You know what? There is numerous nigh on notions in the WWE universe, and I reckon that you and I can name the nomenclature of numerous occasions in alphabetical order. My name is Tom Campbell, and this is the letter N on the A to Z of WWE. N is for NXT, which started life as a weird game show in 2010, where WWE pros would be teamed up with WWE rookies in a weird elimination knockout game show type affair. The wrestling world stood in absolute jaw-slacked awe when WWE pro The Miz was put in charge of the career of rookie internet darling Daniel Bryan. Still weird to say it now. The whole seasonal thing stopped in 2012 and it became a fully fledged show. It actually became their feeder system good and proper, whereby we'd had Deep South Wrestling and Florida Championship Wrestling before this. NXT now became the development system for WWE. So not only were you training part of the WWE, if you were new, you'd also get the opportunity to wrestle on like an actual Wednesday night TV show as well, which was pretty cool. They crowned Seth Rollins as their first ever champion in 2012, and it became such a big deal that they began running their own pay-per-view special type events on the WWE network from 2014 called NXT Takeovers. It's been amazing to watch the rise of NXT from these humble beginnings as this strange game show type format that replaced ECW to what it is now, which is a third brand of WWE, many referring to it as the main roster of WWE that has given us names like Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle. Oh, don't you forget about Keith Lee, he's in there as well. A whole plethora of incredible names who have then gone on to do great things on Raw and SmackDown as well. They've since moved from the WWE Network to the USA Network, and now they are live on a Wednesday night in direct competition with AEW. Wednesday Night Wars are the new Monday Night Wars, don't you know? NXT as a brand is something that WWE are looking to push even further afield. They are already trying this in the United Kingdom with NXT UK, and that is something that you and I will talk about in another video. N is also for the Nexus. Hey, let's rewind back a little bit to 2010. You know when I told you how NXT was sort of this weird game show? Well, when that game show ended, all the contestants got together and invaded Monday Night Raw, completely trashing the ring, leaving everybody laying. They even choked out Justin Roberts with his own tie. That looks painful. From this, the Nexus was born, led by Wade Barrett. They promised they were going to destroy the WWE, and they did so when they lost to the WWE at SummerSlam that year. But it's all right, because they would get one over on John Cena, and John Cena would have to join the Nexus. And so when he joined the Nexus, he spent the next couple of weeks beating up the Nexus. But that's fine, because then they ended up sacking him. They fired John Cena from the Nexus and subsequently from the WWE. And John Cena was gone from the WWE forever for all of 2 hours. And then he came back. They didn't stand a chance. The Nexus got a new lease on life when they ousted Wade Barrett and replaced him with CM Punk. And the new Nexus was born. In comes Michael McGillicuddy and Husky Harris to add to the numbers, as well as big, strong Welsh boy Mason Ryan. However, the new Nexus didn't fare as well as expected, and they were routinely punted out of existence by Randy Orton heading into WrestleMania 27, when Randy Orton then sent CM Punk packing as well. Good job, lads. If you want to see how the new Nexus thing all shook down, you can find out using our next N network. The company has been toying with the idea of its own TV channel since about the year 2000. They were toying with the idea of round-the-clock entertainment before that with the launch of Radio WWF. More on that another time. But the idea of the network, the TV channel type format, was replaced by a Netflix-style model that became the WWE Network. Despite some technical issues here, there, and in some cases everywhere, the WWE Network model has really revolutionized the way that we consume wrestling. You'll see so many other wrestling companies now offering their own versions of on-demand services, and a lot of that comes down to what the WWE Network began. Long before the network, we had to put up with what was in front of us, and that wasn't pretty to look at in the mid-90s. N is for New Generation Era. Ho-ho. So we had this weird bit of time, wrestling fans, between the golden era, sort of post-Hulkamania, and the Attitude Era starting, where the WWF was sort of being left in the shadows by like World Championship Wrestling and other places. It just wasn't a very cool place to be. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon were all stars that spearheaded the New Generation Era. There was a fair few misfires in there as well. Hi, Duke the Dumpster Drosy. Hi, Good Guy Doink the Clown. Hi, King Mabel. That's just a couple. It still remains the dark days of the company, not just because of what creatively we were seeing, but financially what we were getting, in the sense that the WWF really lost a lot of momentum when some of the bigger stars left, and they tried to find their place in an ever-changing world, and eyes were being drawn away to other things. So it was their least profitable time. Diesel, aka Kevin Nash, will go down in history as one of the least profitable WWF champions of all time. But hey, seems to have done all right because of it, and we all got out of it in the end, so it's all fine. Normally putting new in front of something is a little bit New Nexus, New Generation Era, New Day, yeah, that's fine. Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods, through the power of positivity, have stolen the hearts and captured the minds of WWE fans today. The New Day was originally going to be called The Plan. It was going to be Xavier Woods, Big E, Byron Saxton, and Abraham Washington. However, Washington and Byron Saxton were shown the door, and Kofi Kingston was brought in instead, and the New Day was born. Now, it didn't get off to the greatest of starts. I think that it was certainly trying to be a good guy faction that didn't quite land. They ended up becoming bad guys for a bit, but they became so good at being bad that people loved them, and now we love them even more. It's the power of wrestling, fans. The New Day have smashed records as WWE World Tag Team Champions, and they have led Kofi Kingston to the promised land as WWE Champion as well. That is the power of positivity. On the subject of championships, N is also for Night of Champions, a WWE pay-per-view that ran from 2007 to 2015, in which all the championships were on the line in one night. You see, there's always been quite a few titles floating around in WWE, so the idea of putting on an entire show that is just title matches is actually very, very doable. Historical note, Sting worked his final WWE match, possibly his final wrestling match ever, at Night of Champions 2015, when he challenged Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. Also the only time that Sting has challenged for the WWE title as well. That'll always be in history. Night of Champions has now been replaced by Clash of Champions with a similar concept. All the belts are on the line, except when they're not. When we talk champions, we've got to talk about our next N, Nicholas, who is a record-breaking WWE star. This is Nicholas Cone, the son of referee John Cone, who in April 2018 tagged with Braun Strowman to dethrone The Bar for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Grandest stage of them all. Braun Strowman went into the crowd to find himself a tag team partner, and there was young Nicholas. That day, Nicholas became the youngest WWE champion in history, and the following day he was forced to forfeit the title due to school commitments. He has promised when he is old enough he will come back to reclaim what is rightfully his. I cannot wait to see Nicholas back in the WWE in about maybe 10 years time. Nicholas is away now, probably learning some wrestling moves, maybe learning this next N, the Neckbreaker. Trap your opponent in a front headlock and spin, you have yourself a handy dandy neckbreaker. There's been a lot of variations of this over the years. Rick Rude used to give us the Rude Awakening neckbreaker that would come with a little bit of a hip grind as he did it. The Honky Tonk Man would give the shake, rattle and roll, shake, rattle and neckbreaker as he would dance with the opponent briefly before breaking his neck. The neckbreaker's also got a little bit more complicated over years. Adam Cole likes to bust out an Ushigoroshi in NXT, which sees him lifting the guy over his shoulder and snapping his neck on the way down. It's very cool. Time to inject a lethal dose of poison with our next N, the New World Order. Vince McMahon angrily bringing the New World Order to the WWF in 2002. You see, the NWO was always a WCW thing, but when WCW lost the war, it became a WWF thing. So when Vince McMahon needed to kill the company that he had built because he didn't want Ric Flair to run it, he brought in Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Hulk Hogan, all three of these guys making their return to the company for the first time in many, many years. It was the first time Hulk Hogan had been on WWF television in almost a decade. Their return led to some memorable moments at that year's WrestleMania. There would be a rather weird match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Scott Hall, and there would be an unforgettable match between The Rock and Hollywood Hulk Hogan, after which Hogan, showing some sympathy and some magnanimous behavior towards The Rock, was booted out of the NWO. NWO continued as a thing on Monday Night Raw, hiring X-Pac, The Big Show, Booker T, and Goldust sort of via Booker T. I think he pretended he was a member for a little while. Shawn Michaels came in to lead the group as well, but no sooner had they started to get their act together that they were just dissolved. Vince McMahon just came out one day on Raw and said, NWO are gone. All right. That's fine. Their run in the WWE didn't really do them any favors. They were such a powerful part of WCW television. This version that we got, particularly weak, but memorable for not always the right reasons. And finally, N is for ninth wonder of the world. China joined the WWF as Hunter Hearst Helmsley's bodyguard, an imposing figure that threw Marlena around like a rag doll, and anybody that stepped up to her would normally get knocked down. Looking at you, Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah, you got beefed around by China a couple of times. China was part of the inaugural D-Generation X, and she was a member of the group until 1999, when she went to the corporation, siding with Vince McMahon and co. Triple H would join her over there as well, and that same year, not only would China become the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble, she would also become the first woman to win the Intercontinental Championship, defeating Jeff Jarrett in a Good Housekeeping match at No Mercy. China had some memorable runs with Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, and the Right to Censor, and she would leave the WWF in 2001, never to return, as she passed away in 2016. China was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as part of D-Generation X, and I and many others believe that there is a solo spot in the WWE Hall of Fame for China one day soon. So that is N on the A to Z of WWE. Next time I'm going to be screaming, oh my God! Bye! Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Cultaholic. Lastly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.